This video will serve as an in-depth manual for the Varigate 8+. First, we will begin with a general overview of all the module's inputs, outputs, buttons, sliders, and displays, and how to navigate through their various functions. Then we will go deeper into everything by learning how to program sequences and songs, as well as look at some of the Varigate 8+'s advanced features. This video will then conclude with a brief reminder of how to save and recall your sequences, and a quick look at how the Varigate 8+ and Malekko's Voltage Block can be used together. If you're looking for something specific, check the description below for a linked table of contents to this video. And don't forget to like, subscribe, or post any comments or questions you may have below. The Malekko Varigate 8+ is an 8-channel, 16-step gate sequencer that includes 2 CV sequences and the ability to save or recall up to 100 presets. Each of the 10 sequences can be set to their own clock divisions or multiplications, sequence lengths, and playback modes. The 2 CV sequences can either operate independently or be tied to any one of the 8 gate sequences. Additionally, the CV sequences can be set to their own scales. The Varigate 8+ has 4 inputs: clock in for synchronizing external sources, reset, which will return all sequences to their first step each time it receives a gate, random, which will randomize all parameters each time it receives a gate, and freeze, which will temporarily disable the randomization of all parameters when it receives a high voltage. The 10 sequences have their own dedicated outputs across the bottom: gate sequences 1 through 8 and the 2 CV sequences. You will also notice that just below each of these outputs is an LED that will show each channel's current voltage level. The Varigate 8+ also has a clock out for synchronizing external modules and an end-of-sequence output and LED, which sends a gate or flashes each time the longest sequence is completed. The 16 sliders are used to edit steps 1 through 16 of the currently selected sequence. The top 6 buttons, probability, repeat, delay, pulse width, note, and glide, are used to select which parameter of the selected sequence the sliders are editing. Pressing track toggles the sliders to the sequence settings printed below them, allowing you to set the clock division or multiplication, sequence length, sequence mode, or if editing one of the 2 CV sequences, the quantization settings. As you adjust a slider, its value is temporarily displayed by the 16 LED bar graph on the left side. If the sequence is running, it will display the value of the select parameter for the currently active step. 10 buttons across the bottom can be used to select a sequence for editing, to mute sequences, to navigate the preset bank, to save, recall, or clear a sequence, or to program song sequences. Playback of all sequences can be toggled using the Start/Stop button, and the tempo can be adjusted with the tempo knob. To program a gate sequence, start by selecting a sequence. If you want to start from scratch, hold Clear and press the Sequences button again. Or, to clear all 10 sequences saved in a preset, hold Clear plus Bank/All and press the preset you want to clear. Next, adjust the sequence's clock division by pressing Track, then adjusting the first slider. The bar graph on the left side will show the current clock division setting, which can be any whole number between 1 and 16. If you want the sequence to advance at a multiplication of the clock rather than division, simply hold Track while adjusting the first slider. The bar graph will now show the sequence's clock multiplication rather than division. The sequence's length is set using the second slider. A sequence can be anywhere from 1 to 16 steps long. Again, the bar graph will show the current sequence's length. There are little dots along both sides of the bar graph every 4 LEDs. This can make reading and setting a parameter's value a lot easier. We'll talk later about what the letters and symbols mean. Using the third slider, a sequence can be set to any of the 4 playback modes: forward, reverse, pendulum, or random. Later, we will see how the remaining 13 sliders are used to set and control the key and scale when editing the 2 CV sequences. Press any button to exit track mode. Press the probability button to set the likelihood that a gate will occur at any given step. Starting on the left side, no gate will be triggered. Then, as I push the slider further to the right, the probability that a gate will occur increases until we reach the right side, at which point a gate will always occur at that step. To make programming sequences easier, a slider's LED will remain lit for any step that has a gate probability greater than 0. Any step can be evenly broken into a maximum of 16 repeats. To set the number of repeats for a given step, press the repeat button and adjust the corresponding slider to the desired number of repeats, as indicated in the bar graph. Often more musical results can be accomplished by first setting the sequence to a slower clock multiplication before adding repeats to the sequence. If you want a step to have a random number of repeats, first set the lowest number of repeats using the method we just described. Then hold the probability button before pressing the repeat button. The repeat button will flash while you're in this mode. Now adjust the sliders to set the maximum number of possible repeats for any step. Press any button to exit this mode. To add some swing, groove, or just weirdness to your sequence, press the delay button. In this mode, you can subtly or significantly delay any step. This can also be randomized. Just as before, start by setting the minimum delay time by pressing the delay button and adjusting the sliders. Then, set the maximum delay time by first holding the probability button before pressing the delay button. Again, the delay button should flash while in this mode. To adjust the pulse width for any step, press the pulse width button and adjust the step slider. Depending upon what the Varigate 8+ is triggering, this may or may not have a noticeable effect. Pulse width can also be randomized following the same process as shown for both step repeat and step delay. To program a CV sequence, start by selecting one of the two CV sequences. Then set the sequence's clock division or multiplication, length, and playback mode by pressing track and adjusting the first 3 sliders. Each CV sequence can be set to 5 different playback modes: forward, reverse, pendulum, random, or CV link mode. CV link mode will be discussed when we look at some of the Varigate 8+'s advanced features. While still in track mode, we can use the sliders to set the key and scale that our CV sequence will be quantized to. Use the 4th slider to set the key and the 11 remaining sliders to activate or deactivate the root, plus each of the intervals above the root. As an example, I'll set CV1 to be quantized to a C major pentatonic scale. Using the letters on the left-hand side of the bar graph as a guide, I'll set my key to C. I'll make sure that the root node is enabled, as well as all the intervals above my root that fall within the C major pentatonic scale. On the right-hand side of the bar graph, there's a piano symbol which allows me to see which notes I've enabled or disabled. Keep in mind that while this allows us to quantize the voltage output of the Varigate 8+ to specific keys and scales, the actual notes or frequencies produced is determined by the tuning of whatever the Varigate 8+ is sequencing. Note: the CV sequences are limited to only one quantization setting for each preset bank. So if you're working on a patch that requires different scales and keys, you'll have to work across several banks. We can now switch to note mode and use the sliders to program a CV sequence. To limit the range of the slider to its current octave, hold note while adjusting the slider. This can be useful for dialing in more precise intervals. Each step can also have its own glide time by pressing glide and adjusting the sliders. Similar to the parameters of the gate sequences, a definable amount of randomness can be applied to both pitch and glide per step. To set the amount of pitch randomization per step, hold the probability button and press the note button. Then adjust the sliders for the steps you want to apply some randomization to. Pitch randomization is applied before quantization, so the amount of audible randomness depends not only on the note already programmed to any given step, but also the current key and scale settings for the CV sequence. Now that we've programmed a few sequences, let's look at how to save and recall. To save a sequence, start by selecting the bank that you want to save the preset to. Hold Bank/All, then use the lower 10 buttons to select a bank, and hold Save and use the lower 10 buttons again to select which preset slot of this bank you want to save your sequence to. Let's quickly create a variation on our sequence and save it to another preset slot. Now we can hold the Recall button and press the corresponding button to recall any of our saved sequences. The sequence is recalled the moment we release the button. Note: you can navigate to another bank of presets without interrupting playback, making it possible to smoothly transition from one bank of presets to another. Sometimes while working, it can be useful to copy and paste a pattern or a whole preset from one to another. With the Varigate 8+, this is really easy. To copy and paste a pattern, simply hold the source channel, then press the destination channel. To copy and paste a preset, recall the source preset, then hold the Save button and press the destination preset slot. To start creating a song sequence, be sure that you have saved your most recent preset. In song mode, we can think of each bank of presets as being the 10 potential sections of a song. We can then program the order of these sections and the number of times they repeat by holding the song button and pressing any of the 10 buttons the number of times they should repeat and the order in which they should occur. A song can be no more than 32 steps long. Once you've programmed your song sequence, release the song button, then press it again to enable song playback mode. Start your song by pressing the play button. Similar to the individual sequences, you can hold the song button and use the third slider to set the playback mode for your song to either forward, reverse, pendulum, or random. To exit the song mode, simply press the song button again. Each bank can have its own song sequence, and once a song is programmed, it is automatically saved with its bank and stored during power cycles. CV link mode tells a CV sequence to ignore the clock and listen to a specific gate channel instead. The CV sequence will then only advance each time a complete step occurs on the specific gate sequence. The CV sequence will also reset to its first step every time the gate sequence is completed, even if no gate has occurred. To set which of the 8 gate sequences a CB sequence is tied to, press Track and adjust the third slider. The last 8 LEDs of the bar graph represent the 8 gate sequences. Pressing the Mute button allows you to access 3 different pages of mute functions. Navigate these 3 pages using the Bank All, Save, and Recall buttons. On the first mute page, the 10 lower buttons can be used to mute any of the 10 sequences. Use the second mute page to enable or disable randomization for that sequence each time a gate is received in the random input. Page 3 gives you the option to shift all the gate patterns to the right for quick pattern variations. Pressing any of the 10 buttons defines the new location of the first gate sequence. All other sequences are shifted to the right and wrapped back around. Gate patterns can be recorded live by holding down the probability button for 2 seconds. Now you can use the lower buttons to perform your sequence, and they will automatically be quantized to each sequence's current clock settings and sequence lengths. To exit this mode, hold the probability button for another 2 seconds. If Gate+Delay Mode is active, every step will produce both its on-time gate and its delayed gate. You will likely have to shorten the pulse width for most steps in order to hear both gates. Activate Gate+Delay Mode, hold Mute, and press the delay button. For really complex gate sequences, try mixing randomized step repeats and subtly randomized delay times with Gate+Delay Mode. Note: currently, Gate+Delay Mode is deactivated every time the module is power cycled. As a quick reminder on how to save, you can navigate through the 10 preset banks by holding Bank/All and using the 10 lower buttons. Save all your current sequence settings as a preset, simply hold Save and press the button you want to save the preset to. To recall a sequence, simply hold the Recall button and press the corresponding button. The voltage block was designed to work with the Varigate 8+, essentially adding 8 additional CB sequences. If you are unfamiliar with the voltage block, visit MalekkoHeavyIndustry.com or check out my YouTube channel for more information. For the 2 modules to work together, the voltage block must be in slave mode and connected to the same bus board as the Varigate 8+. The voltage block in the Varigate 8+ can really be thought of as one mega sequencer. Saving and recalling presets on the Varigate 8+ also saves and recalls presets on the voltage block. Sequencing and playing songs on the Varigate 8+ will also play back sequences on the voltage block. patching gate inputs into the random and freeze inputs of the Varigate 8 Plus will also cause the voltage block sequences to be randomized or frozen. To keep the two in sync, a reset message is set from the Varigate 8 Plus to the voltage block each time the play button is pressed. Okay, those are all the functions and features of the Varigate 8 Plus. As you can see, this thing goes deep. Its sequencing and performance possibilities, especially when augmented by the voltage block, are pretty extensive. I'm sure that some of you have questions, and I'd recommend first going back through this video and taking it just little chunks at a time. Pause for breaks to experiment with your new knowledge and freshly acquired skills. Then, check out some videos other people have posted for inspiration. If you still have questions, though, don't hesitate to post them below, and I'm sure either myself or someone else in our community will be happy to help. Last but not least, thanks for watching. I hope you found this video helpful. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out some of the other videos on my channel.